Hey class, hope you are having a great e-learning day so far. I'm going to walk you through some steps to prepare you for our summative writing assessment, which is going to be on Thursday for Red Day students, Friday for White Day students. Before we move any further on the video though, you're going to need a couple things. You will either need a piece of paper and something to write with, or if you have access to a printer and you'd rather print out the hard copies of the attached documents, you can do that. You'll need this paper that's here. It doesn't have writing on it yet. And then you will need this one. Both of the papers are attached to this assignment, so you can just print those off. And if you don't have them, that's fine too. You could just look at my examples here, and then you will want to have a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen to take notes as we go. So before we get too much further, our goal for today for our e-learning lesson is to prepare for the summative assessment. In doing that assessment, we're doing this. So I can demonstrate how an author uses plot, conflict, and characterization in a story to present a theme to the reader. So all of these things are things we've discussed all throughout quarter one. Now we're just putting them together and showing what we know. So this paper here is the rubric. This is the exact rubric that I will use to grade your writing. So there are 4 main sections. We've got an introduction. These are going to make up our body paragraphs along with the theme. So it's really just, the expectation is that you have 3 paragraphs, okay? And I'm going to walk through these as we go. So to get the full points, that's what we'll focus on. Your introduction needs to be unique, well-written, and include a thesis. I will give you some positive news, and that is I'm going to give you an optional thesis to use. All you will have to do is fill in the blanks. A thesis is just our expression of what our paper is about. So today, as part of the lesson, we're going to walk through all of this together. As long as you're taking great notes and really thinking about what you might want to use in your paper, you're going to be plenty prepared when you go to do your writing on Thursday and Friday. So we need our introduction, and then the rest of this involves making some examples to support whatever we say our thesis is. So we're going to be using characterization, plot, or conflict. You're going to choose one to focus on. In my opinion, conflict is pretty easy to come up with examples in the book Tangerine. We've talked about that many times before in class, all the different conflicts. Specifically, there's lots of man versus nature and man versus man. So you can focus on whatever you want. You don't have to use the examples I'm giving you, but you do have to choose either characterization. Remember, that would be what a character says, does, thinks, and then what other characters say about that person. Plot, so how the story develops from beginning to end. Or conflict, all of the different types of conflict that we've studied this quarter. You're going to have 3 examples. Those 3 examples will stick to whatever one of these you choose. You're not doing all 3. You're just choosing one. So say you choose to do conflict, you'll come up with 3 examples from Tangerine that prove conflict. However, we are going to wrap all of that up with this big idea of a theme, okay? So your theme needs to have 3 examples. So you're using these conflicts or the examples of plot or characterization to prove your theme that you come up with. Okay, so as long as you have a theme that is well written, clear, and clearly relates to Tangerine, then you get your 10 points for that. So 10 points right off the bat for having a theme that makes sense for Tangerine and is really well written and clear. The rest of this is just going to be proving that theme with examples from the book. So up here I told you you have to have a thesis statement. Right here I have written out a possible thesis statement for you to use. I would highly suggest that you just use this statement and fill in the blanks. And this is going to make more sense when we look at an outline in just a couple minutes as to how it all flows together. But remember, your thesis statement is just you telling your reader, the person that's going to read your paper, your purpose or what you're writing about. So for this one, our thesis statement can be Edward Bluer, the author of Tangerine, uses blank. That's where you're choosing one of these things. So I gave you a reminder, you're just going to pick one. So for example, you might say Edward Bluer uses conflict to demonstrate or show the theme blank. You pick a theme. I've given you some motifs to kind of get you thinking, and I'm going to give you a couple themes that you could possibly use as well. But remember, a motif is not a theme in and of itself. You have to take this idea and make it into a statement, something the author wants us to learn. So if I said, Edward Bluer uses conflict to demonstrate the theme fear, well, that's not really a theme. That's a one-word idea. I could make a statement about fear, though, and that would become a theme. So under this line, I've written some ideas of things that you can think about to consider using as a starting point for your theme. So think about, in Tangerine, appearance versus reality and how that plays out. Think about fear and all the different elements of fear. And you can think about communication, maybe lack of communication or communication that should happen and doesn't in Tangerine, and how that affects people. And this one we've talked about a lot in class, nature versus humanity. I'm going to give you two specific themes. So when you are here in class, you'll have the book in front of you. This is just at the very back of the book. The author gives us some chat it's called the reader chat page, some ideas, things to think about as we read. But they actually give us two theme statements. So if you look at number 3 here, it says, one theme of Tangerine. So this is basically a theme statement right here. A thesis statement. One theme of Tangerine is of humans trying to suppress, resist, or undermine nature. So think about that. Now, right now we're not giving the full story there. Humans trying to suppress, resist, or undermine nature. Then what? Who wins, humans or nature in the book? Make a theme statement out of that. That's one option. Another one that the author gives is, it says, another theme of Tangerine is that though things may appear perfect on the outside, they are falling apart under the surface. So that is a perfect example of a theme. Though things may appear perfect on the outside, they are falling apart under the surface.